This is Madison Square Basement. This episode is my 1957 Les Paul Special. My name is Michael.
My name's Aaron. How long have you had the guitar?
Maybe 5 now?
Maybe 5 years. I remember you getting it right when things dipped because of COVID. But I just remember there being like a little dip before everything got crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's right when you got this.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to say how much you paid?
No, I don't. I got quite a deal. Kind of a hero's deal.
When you could still get a deal?
I think it was the lowest 1957 Gibson that was bought since
then, for sure.
Well, for sure since then, but it was probably the lowest at that point since like 2000, before the 2008 huge boom.
Nah, I don't think so. Well, let's not say what you paid, but let's say it was a deal.
I mean, what is a deal though? Like, it's like I took the chance on it. It wasn't up for long.
Well, actually, I found the listing and it had been up. It was staying up. And I sent it to you after I had already seen it for like 2 weeks.
Oh, but was it one of those things though where like, because like I had looked for Les Paul Specials and I wasn't seeing it, like it was up maybe a couple times, you know, on Reverb?
I don't think so. I think it had just been up.
Okay.
And I remember sending it to you and you being like, what the heck? Like,
I said, what the heck? Because I've been looking for these and didn't see it. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And then I remember you called them.
Yeah, and had them take it off and said, let's just figure it out.
So when you got the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
what had been changed?
When I got it, it had different tuners. The knobs were changed. Obviously, tune-o-matic conversion. The pick guard has been cut a little, but it's the original pick guard. It at one point had a slightly larger route for maybe a humbucker, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has changed. So the truss rod covers changed.
The pots were changed.
The pots were changed. The knobs were changed. The jack is original.
The pickups are original.
Pickups are original.
It had original frets, I think.
It had original frets. Switch is original.
And obviously refinished.
So
I remember the pots.
Nut was original.
Right, the nut was original.
I changed the nut.
No, okay. I remember the pots were dated to 68 or 69, 70. I thought it was 69.
Oh, I thought it was 69. It's 69.
So our assumption is that the finish was done around the same time as the pots, or just a little later, because it's a very old feeling finish.
Everything about the finish looks like 1968 to 1969 to maybe into the early 70s, but it doesn't seem like a mid-70s.
It's a very thin finish.
Very thin.
It feels worn in. There's obvious wear to it.
There's spots where just by your skin having touched it, the paint has just dissolved, not like chipped. There's other spots where it's chipped.
There's a lot of checking.
Tons of checking.
Checking in the neck, checking on the body.
Picasso kind of checking. Like
the face of the headstock is original finish.
Yes.
It doesn't look like the guitar was sanded, or the headstock edges are still crisp.
Yeah.
So it was refinished, but it wasn't like a bad job, and it wasn't excessively sanded before it was refinished.
No, it's not like one of those guitars you see in like Beat Club or like Midnight Special, where like Alice Cooper or like bands had already taken guitars and completely
messed
gone through them, you know? It doesn't really look like that. It looks like in its state right now, the guy still wanted a Les Paul Special. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he just wanted it white and he wanted a humbucker in the bridge.
Yeah, it didn't get like a third pickup. It didn't get, but the tune-o-matic conversion is really interesting.
Yeah, so when we saw it, we thought maybe that's even just a bonus because it'll be more in tune.
I mean, it's either going to be a bonus or it's going to be the worst thing ever, because if the neck angle and the math is off, it's never going to play right.
Right, so it seems like the math is basically just perfect if the bridge is laying all the way down almost to the face of the guitar. I think on the treble side it's all the way down. The guitar sets up with lower than 4/64
I
section.
mean, very low action.
But no buzzing and plays great. So you lucked out with the fact that the angle is basically perfect for the conversion. You've had it refretted since you got it. How long do you think you played it with the original frets? At least a year.
Well over a year. They were like
They were super low.
completely as low as frets can go, right?
Yes. And then the pots, you played it with those replacement pots for even more than a year, and those were 300K pots.
Yeah, so I played those for probably 3.5 years and always had this issue where, you know, we know how 50s and like up to 65 or whatever Gibsons, the way that the middle position interacts, there's like a throw, you know, people know you just slightly nudge the volume and the guitar opens up when you're in the middle position. Also, there's like a scale that if you know old Gibsons, the way the volume knob works and also the way the volume interacts with the tone knob, where the tone knob you can almost use as a slight volume adjustment between like 10 and 7. It's like
it doesn't really
alternate.
roll. It doesn't really roll a treble off.
Not really, but
it almost changes the mid in a weird way.
Yeah. They're very interactive. Okay, so I always struggled with the guitar because it had a weird throw. It had a very strange bassy, like subby throw.
I would not say that it was dark.
It was not like dark, really, but I also played the brightest amps completely possible.
I know, but I still think even when we plugged the guitar in DI or something, there was this extended high end.
Yeah, we've always noticed about this guitar that it seems to have the most infinite presence of any guitar I've ever heard.
Like if you could describe it in frequency, it'd be like 12K.
It's like 12 to 15K.
Is not just there, but it's like a part of the sound of the guitar.
Of every note. And it is not like a telly bright. It is beyond that. It's above it. It's
Hi-fi
like,
bright.
Yeah. But I always struggled with the being in the middle position all the time. The guitar, something was always, I was fighting where it felt the throw of the scale of the volume and tone seemed odd. I finally got VIP pots, pulled the first one out, measured it. It's 300K. And all of them were.
Right.
And that blew me away. The interesting thing is you think about 300K, late 60s, early 70s, what's going on with Gibson. So like, you know, mini humbuckers would have been 300K, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a very, very strange thing there. Like with this guitar's history, maybe it was done around that time. Maybe 300K pots were just like going around because...
Yeah, if the pots were dated to 69 and the guy just asked someone for Gibson spec pots, they might have been 300K.
Maybe.
So, I mean, definitely those pots had been in the guitar for a long time.
Yeah. So put 500K VIP pots in this, and this guitar just actually gained decibels of volume. It was
a night and day.
It was night and day. The resonant peak of the guitar shifted. Everything just opened up where the guitar just has this, I guess the thing people like about these guitars where it's like an acoustic guitar almost. It's like
when you roll back.
When you roll back. Also, though, like the kind of layered gain into an amp where even with fuzzes, even all the way up when an amp's cranked,
it's clear.
It's clear still.
I will say, though, that it did not sound bad with the 300K
No,
pots.
it didn't sound bad.
It sounded great.
It sounded great.
So the fact that it got even better was surprising.
Recordings we did up until that point was all that.
The other thing you did was I think you swapped the pickup positions.
So I took the neck pickup and put it in the bridge, and the bridge pickup and put it in the neck just because
they read hotter.
And that I always struggled with, like everyone does, the neck being hotter. I don't know if they read hotter, if that really matters. Who knows? But I switched them and liked it more.
And they seem very balanced.
They seem pretty balanced. I mean, I have the bridge pickup like.
It is extremely close to the strings.
Pretty close to the strings. I mean, now I've even brought the neck pickup up. I mean, put it this way. The bridge pickup P90 cover is now just up out of the body.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people who play P90s a lot tend to put it there.
Exactly.
Neck pickup, the bottom of the plastic P90 cover is still in the guitar, but I've brought the neck up now. The thing is about the neck pickup on these, like, you want to try to balance them by getting the bridge high and the neck low, but at a certain point, it doesn't really matter. The bridge.
It's more about the tone of the pickup.
Yeah, because the neck pickup's suffering. It doesn't
and in the
sound
middle,
right.
You can roll the volume off anyway.
Yeah, and you always do. Like, I always play this guitar with the bridge pickup at about 6 and the neck pickup at about 4, or 5, something like that.
Rolling off the P90 is a special thing in and of itself. And these are the most acoustic-y sounding rolled off P90s I've heard.
Yeah, because I've had the SG Special with P90s. I've had the Gibson 125 with 2 P90s, the 2 pickup one.
And the SG Special, to my recollection, in the middle, rolled off, still had more bark and like
it had
zing.
a bit. The SG had a little bit more of like a honky thing.
Totally.
It was a little bit like
thinner overall.
It was thinner overall, but it had this little bit of like a knock to the sound that was like mid-range.
Some sort of aggression.
Yeah, a little bit more than this guitar. This guitar is so wide sounding.
It's smoky and vibrant and hi-fi.
Everything you would think that like a 50s version of a P90 as opposed to the 62, 63 SG Special, it kind of is true.
Yeah, maybe it's a little more mellow.
It's more mellow. It's bigger sounding. It's like
fatter.
It's fatter. I mean, the bridge pickup's pretty incredible.
But you roll it off and you're getting close to a telly.
I mean, very telly-ish. Mm-hmm.
You put the reflector knobs on there.
Yeah, so it came with like speed knobs. I took those off and put regular whatever you're calling top hat or not witch hat.
I think they're top hat.
Yeah. So I've had those on there, but I'm singing songs and I don't like the way that those move.
I like the way the reflector feels.
The reflector feels way better to me.
Yeah, me too.
So I know, it's not necessarily correct. I don't care. I like these knobs better in terms of how they feel while you're like looking at the microphone instead,
Right. And you've had the thing refretted with, basically like period correct.
Basically period correct frets.
They're skinny.
They're skinny and small.
You changed the tuners to the more like Kluson style.
I changed the tuners to Kluson style, but they're metal. And I would like to put like a metal pick guard on it. I always thought that would be
a mirror.
Good. A mirror style metal.
I'm into that. I think that's a good. Okay, so those are all the changes that were made and then the changes that you subsequently made. What do you think generally about the guitar? What are its strengths? What have you found to be its weaknesses?
So the weaknesses of the guitar are the fact that it's so wide sounding, the things that are basically good about it. It's so big sounding, it explodes amps. The P90s have like this resonance, so like they excite amps in like a particular way. I've played Vox's style so much and thought that was going to be a perfect match, and in some ways it is. And then in some ways, like there's too much like high frequency clarity to be a guitar player in a band that goes multiple places. It seems like
Yeah.
it's like good for one sound and gets just completely overwhelming. So I think the weakness is, again, like another strength. You roll your volume down, it's so clear. I love that sound, but
That it is a very different sound than the on 10 sound.
it's completely different. Almost like a
So-
fuzz. Like
Yeah.
the guitar responds like that. Between 0 and 7.5 to 8 is a
Bright,
relatively
clear, clean.
Yeah. The scope of that and the scale makes sense. From 8 to 10 is the most
Rocking.
violent shift of like low end comes in.
And then from 9 to 10
is like a fuzz. Like, it just erupts.
it's like explosion.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to get used to that.
You have to get used to that. I would say like a lot of these guitars, the neck pickup, like the balance is hard, you know?
Mhm.
It's like really hard for me. I'm not just playing guitar. It would be different if I spent a lot of time playing just guitar in a band, but it's difficult for me to use neck bridge, and bridge as like very distinct things to flip between while within like a part, like a
Right.
Strat, you know?
I get that, but I do think if you were only playing guitar and you could spend that time thinking about where your knob positions were and stuff and exactly how much volume you were rolling off to get the particular clarity, I do think you could make pickup switches.
You could.
I don't necessarily think it's a weakness with the guitar. It's more a weakness of like
Well, yeah, me. I can't
it being
play.
kind of complicated.
Yeah. I can't play great. Like I'm not fluid like that. So you could do it. I mean, an amazing guitar player would light this thing up, man.
Right.
So that's just first and foremost. The guitar is way better than I am, but I'm just saying that with P90s, with a real fat sounding guitar that has like a biting bridge pickup, there's a lot going on there. It's not like a Strat where from
You
neck
can
to
flip.
bridge.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm saying I'm singing a song while I'm playing it. So, you know, sometimes you're singing and you're in the middle position, you go to the bridge and it gets really bright and feels up front. Your volume feels like it increases. You go to the neck and you're still loud, but you disappear because of how much bass it seems like there is. So
Right.
those are things that are hard about this. If you're someone in my position where you're singing and you're not a like fluid guitar player that, you know, is making changes, micro changes, you know, constantly.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think old humbuckers solve a little bit of that problem because they're more consistent
Yeah.
with the volume knob, but they lose a little of that magical quality of the gaining the brightness with the roll off. Do you want that consistency or do you want something that's going to respond in a way that's almost the perfect response for a roll off, getting brighter?
Pretty much. I mean, and that's what I would say after I got this Strat that like once, like all of a sudden playing a Fender guitar, style guitar, rolling down and the guitar getting darker to me makes complete no sense.
Yeah, you just have to. A Fender guitar almost works in the opposite way, where the on 10 sound is so bright and wiry and kind of like mid-scooped and hollow that when you roll down, you've set the amp up so that that darkness is now, you know, fatness. You gain fatness.
Yeah, and now, well, I've been playing Gibson so long, and that has always made sense to me. Like you roll down, the volume goes down and clarity goes up.
But it's very specifically the P90 that does that.
It really is. I mean, way more so. But
I mean, old PAFs that I've played do that a little bit, but they don't do it the same way.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a P90 thing.
So those are some weaknesses. Strengths.
I mean, the guitar is absurdly fun to play.
I mean, the action cannot go lower.
Every note resonates. There's no note where you're like, oh, to the A flat.
No, the guitar is outrageous. I mean,
you can. There's sustain, unbelievable sustain.
I mean, it's. You can play notes and there's like feedback loops happening.
Oh, unplugged.
I mean, it's ridiculous. The strengths are that you go to play any guitar, and it just makes them seem like they're not even worth playing.
Because I don't play this guitar that often, but you can play a bunch of other guitars in periods between playing a guitar like this, and you pick this up and you go, oh, all those guitars can even be good guitars, and they suck. Nothing is made to be this great of an instrument, it seems.
Yeah, so I've spent all that time trying to decipher and figure out why the weaknesses are there, how to fix them or whatever. Like it being heavy, the fact that Gibsons sit on you backwards and the neck angle, and there's all these things that make Gibsons hard to play. You pick up a Strat on the couch or a Tele on the couch and you have so much fun, and
it's easy.
It's easy. And I've played Teles and thought, what am I doing? Why have I spent so much time on the Les Paul Special? I could just sell it and get guitars that are easy and fun to play. Played Strats, same thing. I've played other guitars and they seem, I remember playing my, whatever that was, 97 or 98 custom shop, Gibson. I loved that Les Paul and thinking all of these guitars are so good. The Les Paul Special isn't that amazing. Every time you pick it up, it just annihilates the train of thought,
Yeah, and I will say, if I pick it up and I'm just, messing around on it, I can appreciate how good it is. And then when you plug it into an amp, you go, oh, wow, it really does sound good. If you're playing it in a band context, the feedback loop of the guitar to the amp to the volume knob with your playing, your picking dynamic is so unbelievably responsive and fun and cool that even the best modern Tele or whatever doesn't have this response.
No, and that's that point is that, like I was saying, the better you could be as a player, the more you would get out of this.
Oh, so 100%.
That kind of explains it. You get a great Tele or something, it's going to go up the scale until a certain player is going to be better than that guitar.
Yeah.
The best players in the world would make
love
this. Yeah, they would just make it sound so beautiful.
Let's go into some of the dimensions and stuff. So you're just mentioning that the guitar is heavy. We weighed it and it weighs 8 pounds, 11 ounces, which I would say is on the heavy side for a, Les Paul Special. You were pointing out, obviously, there's the added tailpiece.
So, the tailpiece with the posts going down.
That's got to add a couple of ounces.
It's going to add some ounces. The metal tuners,
because it would have had plastic buttons.
Would have had plastic buttons. I mean, there's more weight on here than would have been
at first.
I'd say, to be fair, you could say that there's a 4 to 6, possibly stretching at 7 ounce variable.
Sure.
So we're saying that it could potentially be what
between
would it be
8.5 and 8.8.
Yeah, maybe, to be fair, somewhere around there.
So
if it was in its standard configuration,
it's original. Yeah. And I would still say that was somewhat heavy for, I guess, just other numbers you see online and stuff. It balances well on the strap. It doesn't balance that well sitting down. Wants to slip off your leg a little bit.
I think all Les Paul Specials.
That's pretty much a Les Paul
thing,
The neck dimensions are pretty interesting. It's 0.90 at the first fret, but at the 12th fret, it's 0.97, which I think the fact that it's not so aggressively tapered makes the neck feel very comfortable and inviting all the way up.
Okay, so you've had many custom shop Gibsons. You've had old 335s.
This is interesting.
Epiphone Riviera.
The Greco I had was 0.89 at the first fret, and definitely had a more similar shape to this, but not this shape. The R7 I had was 0.90 at the first fret and felt huge.
The gold one?
The gold one.
Okay, the gold one was like a complete comedy sketch version of a neck.
And
like,
it's the same measurement.
So
the shape is so off.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Then when you pick up this guitar, what does the neck feel like?
Comfortable is the first word I would think would be comfortable. Second word is like fast.
Okay. So now when you pick up this guitar and play this neck, from all the Gibsons, the Riviera or whatever, the 335s, the Tokai 335s, the Greco Les Pauls.
Tokai Les Paul.
Okay. Now what comes to mind when you think of this guitar in comparison to all of the guitars? Where does the neck, like what is this neck? What is it compared to that in terms of shape? And what were those ones compared to this? Mm-hmm.
So I had the R8 with the Carmelita neck.
Mm-hmm.
That was 0.86 at the first fret and 0.97 at the 12th. Same 12th fret as this.
Wow.
Slimmer at the first fret and felt way bigger.
Do you know exactly what the nut width was?
We're talking standard, so 1.6.
And so what was this nut width?
This nut width is interestingly a little big at 1.71. Obviously, they're handmade guitars. There's some variation there. My Epiphone Riviera was from 62. That was like 1.7. I had a Gold Top Deluxe from 69 that was 1.7 or maybe 1.71. But a lot of old guitars you see are a little slimmer than this, and even as slim as like 1.65, closer to 1 5/8 than this. This I would say is has a wide feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exceptionally comfortable to play. Yeah. It seems like as you get into the 60s, the general neck shape gets slimmer, but the 64 neck people talk about, the Goldilocks type neck, is way slimmer than this at the first fret, 0.83, 0.82, sometimes 0.84. But the 12th fret is like over an inch usually. So the taper is so extremely aggressive. And the Gold Top Deluxe was like that too. I do think that's still a comfortable neck, slim at the first fret to a good aggressive taper. But this being more uniform has a special quality about it, which I think is maybe the 59 neck that people, so covet.
Well, I would say that when you're playing this, obviously every guitar is going to have its own special thing, but when you're playing this, you couldn't imagine the 12th fret being thicker.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't feel.
It doesn't feel
big.
too big, but like I couldn't imagine it being bigger. It's a lot there to hold on to, but that goes to show there is so much involved with the shape and the shoulders. The kind of curve right off of the fretboard is not a V on this, but it's pretty immediately.
Yeah,
curved over.
I was gonna say that too. It's not a V, but it is a very extreme like C shape.
So I guess it's like as far as a C can have tapered on the top of the C until you know what I mean? It's like it's the thing right before a V almost.
It doesn't feel like a V where there's a point.
No, but it doesn't feel like a C where it's like uniform either, because it rolls right away.
It just perfectly matches the palm of your hand.
Yeah, I just
fills up the palm of your hand.
Like your thumb rolled over. It has a very immediate drop off, like from the fretboard over. It curves so immediate,
So our point with this is that by any stretch of the imagination, 0.90 at the first fret's a big neck, and this does not feel in the slightest big or uncomfortable.
I mean, it's just, what can you say? I mean, you're talking about playing an F chord, your thumb rolls over just easily.
So yeah, you might want a little slimmer. Yeah, you might want a little bigger, but this shape and this feel, we're talking close to a perfect neck.
I mean, yeah, like on this guitar, it just seems completely great. I mean, the neck's great. We've had a lot of Gibsons.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there are other Gibson neck profiles that are great. But I think the difference is that slim means slim all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Up to the 12th, it's still slim.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this is it's just so uniform. There isn't much taper.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's uniform but doesn't feel like bulky in any way.
The shape is just, very, very comfortable. They nailed the shape. And that's the part about modern guitars that is off.
I mean, we've played custom shop Gibsons that you put the guitar into your hand and you could never imagine spending large amounts of time playing it. It it hurts almost. It doesn't feel like your hand fits it right.
And the gold top being the same measurement as this is just crazy.
That's scary.
That neck felt clubby would be the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah, it's just
clubby,
goofy.
It
big, felt goofy.
Weird. And it's virtually the same.
Well, at that one spot.
And I mean, at the 12th fret, not too much different, but it was like an inch at the 12th
yeah.
fret. What are you thinking of? Are you going to do anything else? Other changes to the guitar?
People have tried to buy the guitar because they want to make it yellow and have it back to a wrap tail. People have lost their minds with old guitars. Guitar culture has become completely embarrassing. And I like the white one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Les Paul Special. It looks better than yellow ones. Yellow.
I don't even think it's about the color at that point. This is an old finish.
So this is a refinished Les Paul Special, okay? With all the guitars we've had and then all the modern ones, same type of question. How does this finish feel in your hands? Put it, you put it on. How does this finish feel? How does this feel as a guitar compared to, let's start with just new guitars.
This guitar feels slick, or like there isn't much between you and the wood. Mm-hmm. But there's lacquer. It's not like you're touching wood.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. So the new guitars, like newer Gibsons, feels like you're kind of like the Gretches, way better than the Gretches, but like your finger is touching a outer
sheet.
layer. Yeah. The paint is underneath. Every single part of this guitar feels like you're touching the paint.
Right.
There's parts where it's like perfectly wearing into wood.
There is no one who could do a relic that is even close to this.
We've played tons of relics. Nothing feels like this. So, old guitars. So I had the 62, 63 SG Special.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, what would you say, mint?
No, it had that one little...
Well, it had one mark on it. But
like
other
mint.
than the mark, it was a mint guitar.
Yeah. As far as feel of the finish of that, I mean, a near mint guitar.
So that's why I'm saying. So you're playing a guitar, 63 guitar with basically every part that you're touching is like
from
almost
the
like
factory.
From the factory, new feeling almost.
Yeah.
It had checking for sure, but I would say that this guitar feels like that guitar if that guitar got played heavily.
Right, but that guitar didn't feel like you were touching a sheet.
No, not at all. No, I'm saying like this and that guitar feel the same. It's just this one's been played way more.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm saying this has been refinished.
And played a lot.
But we've played old Gibsons and this feels like
an old Gibson.
I mean, this feels so much better.
So for someone to take this and refinish it yellow and relic it and take the Bob Marley off and put on a wrap would be absurd at this point.
So when I was out there shopping for Les Paul Specials, okay?
Just kicking the tires.
I was looking, what do I want? Which one do I want? I saw the white one. And my criteria for Les Paul Specials, for 50s Les Paul Specials, right?
Was under $3,000.
So, well, that was in third on the list. Number one, I want it refinished. Like, let's go white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number two, if I'm going to get a Les Paul Special, I want the tone of the only real... Some people played Les Paul Specials, but we're going to go with the one who really put the Les Paul Special through its paces, Bob Marley. So look at the photos of Bob Marley's Les Paul Special, and it has the Tune-O-Matic and the stop tail.
Right.
It worked for him.
And if it's good enough for Bob Marley,
so
this could have been
and that's
an early prototype
of the Marley. So that's what when people ask me, oh, that's a new guitar, that's the Billy Joe. Sometimes you ask me. What's funny about that is that this might be Bob Marley's guitar.
This could have been.
No, this might be.
Well, there's no binding on the headstock. So it would have to be a proto.
No, but here's the thing is, it could have been finished white, and then it could have gone through its time with him, and then maybe refinished. Again, but somehow still back then. I don't know, look.
And they pulled the binding off the headstock.
Look, if this guitar gets refinished by some clown because he wants it to look yellow, there's no hope.
It would be like taking original finish off the guitar.
Yes, that's the big story that I'm trying to make here is that we've had the old guitars and everything about this is old. It's as good as the old ones. What's the worst part about new guitars in general? The feel, the finish. It's terrible. So you're going to take this guitar, the white one, checking everywhere. I mean, the feel of the neck. Put your hand on the neck.
I mean, look at where there's wear on the neck. Who can relic that? You can't sand this. I mean, this is just this finish is kind of priceless. And a guy would look at this and go, "Oh, it's all wrong."
So it's white.
But a cool guy would look at it and go, "It's awesome."
Yeah, that was me then and now. So.
But the question remains, would you change anything about the guitar?
I've thought about putting a Firebird pickup in the neck.
What's cool about this guitar is changes aren't that big of a deal.
No, never worried about it. It's been at every gig since then.
For 5 years, yeah.
5 years of gigs.
Recording, rehearsals.
Every recording, every rehearsal. It's the only guitar I've played.
It's the only guitar you've had for 5 years.
It's the only guitar I've played for 5 years. And one day we were in here rehearsing and the strap came off of the neck side button, and the guitar with a force like a samurai sword.
It hit.
It hit even harder than dropping because of the way that it was hanging on me. It went like this, wham.
Because the other side of the guitar was attached. On. So it
smacked. This thing hit the floor so hard that what popped off? Like the screw or something came out of the
truss rod cover?
Remember, something actually came off.
I do think something did, yeah.
Yeah, I think a screw came out of the truss rod cover. I mean, this guitar hit the ground so hard on the point of its headstock, bounced.
Yeah.
Fell on the ground. I picked it back up. All this wear was already there.
And the little divot was there.
And the divot was there.
None of that is from that.
No. I mean, maybe the slightest, like little, but
I remember it looking like that before.
Yeah, it looked like this before. In which tons of old guitars, like all the Gibsons seem to wear right in that spot.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I picked it up, put the screw back in the truss rod cover.
Thing was pretty much in tune.
It was in tune. That's another thing about this guitar. The amount of stability with the tuning. It's the most in tune of any guitar I've ever had.
You can pretty much put it in the case and then like not use it for a week and pick it up.
And it's in tune. all the gigs we play, I check the tuning once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just in tune.
And I know it sounds like maybe this is our experience with an old guitar, but we've owned a significant amount of old guitars.
For regular people.
We've played a significant amount of old guitars. I've played maybe 10 50s Les Paul Specials.
I've played probably 5, maybe 4. I don't know. We've played some together.
And there were ones that were amazing, that sounded great, and there were ones that weren't so good. I remember there was one I played that had Clyde written on the pickguard that wasn't so good. This one is great.
This one's a great guitar.
Across the board, new guitars, old guitars, this is just a fantastic guitar. That being said, we're seeing 59 Juniors for $30K.
It's disgusting. So people talk about how the Juniors might sound so good because there's no neck pickup.
There's no string pull from the pickup.
I don't know about all that. But one day we can try to take the pickup out and see if it sounds 30K good like a Junior. Then finally, this will be as good as a Junior.
I know, man. If you sold this guitar, I wouldn't want to say, out to the public what you would expect to get for it.
I mean, I'm not selling it for less than 10 because I don't want to.
But putting that price in perspective, 10 grand, what 50s Gibson can you get for 10 grand that has an old finish, original pickups, at least pots that are to spec, and plays and sounds this good? I can't really think of much.
What does 10 get you anymore?
10 doesn't even get you a Skinny Nut SG sometimes. So a 50s guitar, this is pretty much top of the heap in some sense.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, unless you're going to a gold top, the equivalent gold top with the Tune-o-matic, the P90s, and just gold paint and the maple cap, isn't that 30K plus, 45?
It's got to be.
So 10 grand, that actually isn't bad.
I know. For people who have tons of money. I mean, I don't know.
You got it for a deal, but you could sell it.
Yeah.
And I think you've been there a couple of times. I think I'm going to sell it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where I could get a damn Jerry Jones and just have fun and play.
There's a lot of money in the guitar.
There's a lot of money and I don't really think of guitars that way. So every time we play a gig, I mean, I'd just lay it on the corner
But it's a special instrument and it's, in my mind, pretty irreplaceable.
I'm not careless with it. I love the guitar to death. It's kind of been like the SG and the Gretsch were special things. And that LG too were special guitars that actually had this kind of pull. I could tell I really could write things and enjoy music with those guitars. This guitar, I really do think has to be the most mine of any guitar there's been,
I agree. And I think it's the most, I think it solves the most problems. Like the SG sounded great, played great, felt great, but it kind of felt like you could fold it in half.
Yeah, it was very scary.
And just wiggling the neck back and forth. I mean, the amount of pitch change.
Yeah, very crazy.
Things like the Gretsch sounded awesome, but were difficult to play and very fragile. And this guitar just seems like the most do everything type of guitar, you could get. Definitely
the most stable guitar I've ever had.
Stable and you can fit it into a lot of different styles of music.
Yeah. With the other actual Les Paul Specials we've played and then other Gibsons with P90s, it's hard to say how much those P90s do for the sound. I don't know if those other Les Paul Specials we played were better sounding pieces of wood with worse pickups. I don't know how crazy that all gets. But yeah, like we're saying, I mean,
it all plays a part.
It all plays a part. And this guitar stacks up with, wow, if you were to put a price on the guitars that this, in terms of
If you were to put a price on the sound of this guitar,
you know, and compare it to what prices things go for, it's one of those guitars.
it's like $100,000.
It's one of those guitars it's with the big ones, you know?
You could hand this to Joe Walsh and he could make a record on it and no one would think, oh, he's using a cheaper.
No, this isn't a cheap guitar. This is one of those guitars, you know? I mean, this is, unfortunately now, the real rich people, they buy these guitars because they think they're funny and they're stunt guitars, you know?
Oh, yeah, specials and juniors and stuff.
Yeah, and refins and, you know, conversions. Like, it has the damn tunematic, so someone would say, you know, the guitarist in Paul McCartney's band, I'll buy it for slide.
Yeah, and I think there's been Bonamassa had all the mint stuff and now he wants all the cut up stuff.
Yeah, because it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, leave something for the regular guy.
You know, I want a brown SG. It's funny.
Yeah, when that brown SG could be a guy's whole world.
Their whole world. And that's the thing. To us, you know, like, the guitars are just guitars, and they're also like it's the whole world of music because we're making songs with the guitar. And also, we're not in the position to have multiple guitars like that are this kind of guitar.
Yeah,
you know?
if you wanted to get, let's say, a junior, an SG special or something, you'd have to sell this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can, well, if I wanted to get a new SG, I mean, if I had to get anything, I have to sell this. That costs real money.
And that's pretty much always been the position we've been in, is like, if you want to get a different guitar, you're going to have to sell the existing guitar.
Yeah.
So every time we've had, you know, I had a 66 345, I had to sell that to get the 62 Epiphone Riviera. I had to sell the Riviera to, you know, pay the bills and get a custom shop guitar, and then you just move on.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not in a position to be able to use this as a trick guitar.
No. I've wanted to sell it for an Alembic. I've wanted to sell it for an SG, like special. I've wanted to sell it for, what else?
Callings.
A Callings, I-35 LC, black, vintage.
And all those guitars would have been great, probably.
Yeah.
But this is a special guitar.
It's a special guitar.
And you just know, unfortunately, how the prices are going. If you sold this and you wanted to get back into one, it's going to be extremely difficult.
I'll never get one of these again. I mean, we know what the prices are. I'll never be able to get one of those guitars. This is a really special guitar. We've had good guitars. We've had bad guitars. This kind of stacks up with anything. I would love to, in the future, if we meet more people, find some people that have a bigger collection of old guitars and just throw this in the circle and see how it holds up.
That's something that I've kind of always wanted to do, you know, when I had my D18 and I had all these guitars and stuff. It would just be nice to find people with equivalent guitars to be able to just like pass them back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, you got a 60s Martin, I got a 60s Martin. Let's see how they stack up. I swear mine is good, right? I want to know.
Yeah. Same way you see like listings, or you hear about people who have had these real high dollar guitars saying, you know, I had to move 3 or 4 guitars because this one is the one I always thought sounded best. Like, where are all those guitars?
Right, and just like we were saying, how you changed the pots and a great guitar, or it like got better. How good is the best Les Paul Special?
That's what we want to find out. I've always loved Les Paul Specials. The Mickey and Sylvia, the photos of Clapton on the Blind Faith, or Derek and the Dominoes. Derek and the Dominoes.
I mean, just walking into guitar stores and seeing them, you know.
I've always loved specials.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 2 P90 Gibson without the maple and stuff. It's just incredible. Van Morrison, 1980.
Right. Yeah, he's playing a black one.
He's playing a black one, so that's been refinished. Maybe someone should tell him it should be yellow. In closing about this instrument, it's great, you know. We don't know if it's the best. It's not the worst. What do you think of it?
Every time I pick it up, it's fun to play not because of the expense or even necessarily the sound or the history or the provenance. It's fun to play because it's a great guitar and you're not worried that what you want to play is ever going to be stifled by the instrument.
Yeah. Also, for being like a Gibson, but being a chordal, pure, resonant, clear guitar, this is up there.